Hello, my name is Cadet Anderson, and I'm joined by Cadet Bovis and Cadet Artiaga. And today we're going to be kind of giving you an inside look at what Air Force ROTC is, if it works for you, as well as a deeper understanding of what the Air Force and the new branch, the Space Force, are, and how Air Force ROTC could be your pathway to those branches. In this briefing, we're going to be talking a little bit about what the Air Force is, what the Space Force is, what your future career could look like. We're also going to be going through an Air Force ROTC breakdown of what the program is, and then also kind of finishing out with the different scholarship opportunities that come along with the program.
Hello, everybody. I'm Cadet Artiaga, and here at the Air Force, it is our mission to fly, fight, and win in airspace and cyberspace. This means that we are responsible for the future of the military. As technology progresses, we take it upon ourselves to uphold superiority in every frontier of life. Army owns the land, Navy owns the sea, but Air Force owns the future.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cadet Bovis, and I'm going to talk to you a little more about what kind of traveling you can do with the Air and Space Force. So, a career in the Air and Space Forces can promise you a life of travel to exciting and exotic locations around the globe, places in the United States, such as LA Air Force Base even, Alaska, Las Vegas, Florida, New Jersey even, all over Europe and Italy, Germany, and the UK, and Asia, and Japan and South Korea, all throughout the Pacific Ocean. I myself actually had the opportunity to spend about a year in Pyeongtaek, South Korea, and Camp Humphreys during my time as an enlisted service member, and I really enjoyed every minute of it. And I think that in joining the Air or Space Force, you're going to have a great time traveling and learning about the culture of the world. And it's really a kind of experience you're not going to get in pretty much any career on the civilian side. Thank you.
Hey, this is Cadet Anderson again. Just really quickly, we're going to go over some different career fields that are in the Air and Space Forces. Now, these aren't every job or every position, of course, but here we're just highlighting some of the more interesting ones that come with joining the Air Force. So we have what we call rated positions. So these are positions that are involved in like aircraft. So you can be a pilot, an RPA or remotely piloted aircraft pilot, flying drones from around the world, a combat systems officer. We call those like backseaters who operate the weapon systems of different aircraft, or even air battle managers who organize the battle space and coordinate different attacks. We also have a special warfare or spec ops. Even though we are the Air Force, we do have special warfare and special operators who work with the other branches and the other services, just like SEALs or Delta Force or Army Rangers, such as combat rescue officers, special tactics officers, or tactical air control parties, which are called TACPs, and they're the ones who call in airstrikes. On the other side, we have non-rated officers. So these could be like cyberspace, cyber warfare, logistics, making sure everyone in the military has what they need, space operations, which is kind of transitioning into the new branch of the Space Force, as well as intelligence, special investigations, all sorts of engineers from civil, mechanical, aeronautical. We also have finance, contracting, and acquisitions for business jobs, public affairs, security forces, keeping our bases safe. And as well as we also have a special selection of what we call specialty officers, such as a judge advocate officer, pretty much a lawyer, dentists, physicians, doctors, chaplains, nurses. Now, one thing to note about these specialty officers is that they tend to come with additional requirements. For instance, to be part of Air Force ROTC and try to become a doctor, you generally already have to be in medical school when you join Air Force ROTC. So if you're interested in any of those jobs, please reach out to us and we'll be able to kind of give you some more information on those jobs specifically on what's required to attain those jobs. Now, if you want to see a complete and comprehensive list of the jobs in the military or the jobs in the Air Force and Space Force specifically, just go to airforce.com. It's really, really easy to see there, and they have all the different positions and really in-depth descriptions of what's required and what the job will entail.
So I'm going to talk a little more about your potential future career in the Air or Space Force and what kind of benefits you can expect. So a career in the Air Force and Space Force have benefits that are nearly impossible to find in a civilian career. My personal favorites are the 30 days annual vacation with pay. These days are called leave days. Now, you essentially you put in a form to your command and you can go any time of the year for 30 days. There's normally no time, or there's normally no mileage restrictions. So think of it as 30 days of any kind of vacation you could possibly want. Another very important benefit to myself is the health and life insurance. Everyone knows how difficult it is to find a good health insurance policy. TRICARE is, in my opinion, unbeatable. They have hospitals and medical centers and clinics on every installation, every base, as well as they can refer you to any kind of specialty or specialist outside in the civilian side with no cost to you. So the life insurance policy is called SGLI, and it's a very small expense to you that'll come out of every paycheck. You can choose from 100,000 to 400,000 if you do happen to pass away in service, or if you retire, you do get to keep the VGLI benefits throughout your entire life. The retirement plan offered by the United States Air Force and Space Force is also one that is not to be scoffed at. The savings plan, so you'll contribute into that in the TSP-esque program, plus 40% of that will be matched by the Air Force or Space Force at 20 years of service, and it does go up after more than 20 years in service. And after the retirement, VA or veterans benefits are insane. VA home loans are one of the most popular benefits that are offered. The student loan repayment programs that are kind of offered in lieu of a GI Bill for officers that have already been to college are an amazing benefit that will be offered to you due to your military service. So to get these incredible benefits, you do have a bit of a service commitment. So these service commitments, for most careers, such as the non-rated, is a 4-year active service. So that means after you commission into the United States Air Force or Space Force, you will be required to serve for 4 years, and then maybe have an additional few years in what's called the inactive regular reserve, which is no drill. It's just you are to be called upon in an active, unprecedented war. So for rated positions such as RPA, CISO, or an ABM that we talked about a couple slides ago, you will incur 6 years of active service. So just 2 more for an incredible job like that. Now for pilots, so fighters, bombers, tankers, all the pilots, they incur a 10-year active service. Now that seems like a lot, but it's definitely worth it from the unmatched training you're gonna get and the just amount of potential jobs that you can be offered after your military service as a pilot. And if we look at the very bottom, you can see that this service commitment is incurred upon activation of a scholarship or completion of a field training. So we do really want to emphasize that you do not have a service commitment during your first year or 2 years of Air Force ROTC. So it is definitely a try it if you like it program. So never fear about joining Air Force ROTC. Thanks for listening. Next slide. Awesome. So now that we've talked a little bit more about in-service benefits and what you can look forward to after you join the Air Force or Space Force, we're going to talk a little more about some compensation programs and other benefits that the military has to offer for you. So one amazing benefit to the United States Air Force and Space Force that you will be very hard-pressed to find in any other job sector in the civilian sector will be 5 guaranteed pay raises in your first 4 years, in addition to scheduled promotions throughout your career at set year landmarks. A guaranteed raise and a guaranteed promotion are, I have never heard of in the civilian side, so that is an amazing benefit that you won't find anywhere else. Another great benefit in the compensation program area is the special pays that the United States Air Force and Space Force have to offer. Some of my favorites are hazard pays. So if and when you do deploy to either a combat area or even a non-combat area, you will be given hazard pays that can be tax-free, depending on the danger of your area. Another great benefit and a great benefit for income is cost of living pays that will be attributed to you depending on where in the world you are. So if you're living somewhere like Los Angeles or anywhere in New York or even maybe Korea, you'll be given a cost of living allowance or COLA, which will help you with a little more with the expenses incurred, where the cost of living will be a little bit higher and compared to maybe Minnesota or Tennessee or Florida. Another really popular one is the family separation pay. So as everyone knows, when you're in the military, there may be a time where you may be separated from your spouse and your children. The Air Force and Space Force has taken that into account and how important family is, and you will be compensated for that. So that is a great benefit. And the foreign language proficiency pays are also incredible. So if you can read or write any of the strategic languages that we'll get into later in this presentation, you will be paid pretty well for those skills. So moving on, another great benefit is student loan repayment programs that aren't really offered too much in the civilian side. So these are the officer's answer to the GI Bill that the enlisted service members are offered. So after you join Air Force ROTC and commission at the Air Force Space Force, you can look into that program to get your student loans paid off if you do have those. Again, going back to if you may have a spouse or children, the Exceptional Family Member Program may be for you. The EFMP program is the Air Force and Space Force's way of looking out for its service members' family who may have special needs. And these are cutting-edge programs that really kind of give the Air Force and Space Force a more human side, which is what we're all looking for. Talking about bases, every base has several different benefits and amenities that are only for active duty military personnel, dependents, and retirees. Some of these benefits are gyms, athletic centers, movie theaters, bowling alleys, private parks, private beaches, museums, anything you can think of. Imagine a base of being kind of a small fenced-in city with fighter jets. And the last one I want to talk about are career-specific re-enlistment bonuses. These are highly specific to whatever career you're in, but whenever it is your time to get out and when your service obligation is up, you may be offered a bonus. I've seen these anywhere from $6,000 upwards to $100,000. That'll obviously be more for the more technical AFSCs, but always take a moment to think about possible re-enlistment bonuses when you join Air Force ROTC and or at the time where you start to think about what AFSC you want to choose. Next.
All right, now taking a deeper look into the Air Force, a commonly asked question is, what's the difference between enlisted personnel and officers? Enlisted members are the hands-on technical experts of the military who are recruited after the completion of high school, where officers serve to lead enlisted personnel as well as other units at any level. Officers commission into the Air Force through programs such as Officer Training School, the Air Force Academy, or ROTC. The requirement is that they must attain a bachelor's degree, but the cool thing about Air Force ROTC is that it is designed to allow you to receive your officer training alongside attaining your bachelor's degree.
So now I'm just going to kind of dive into the newest branch of the Air Force, the Space Force. So the Space Force is kind of branching off of the Air Force, just like the Marines are kind of like a sub-branch of the Navy. So the Space Force is taking over the Department of Space Operations from the Air Force, and all of those missions include the Global Positioning System, so GPS satellites that everyone uses on their phones and in their cars, the Combined Space Operations Center down in Vandenberg Air Force Base, which is a multinational joint space operations center, as well as like they play a vital role in pretty much every space launch. So all of the United States' government partners such as NASA, SpaceX, United Launch Alliance, Blue Origin, all these different companies that are operating in space from the United States. The Space Force plays a vital role in helping them, assisting them, providing the regulations, and kind of managing all of that. So there's a bunch of different bases that they're being stationed at. Peterson Air Force Base, Shreve Air Force Base, Colorado, Florida, California are some of the bigger, more noticeable bases, but they also do have people all over the world at different space operations bases. One thing to note is that the Space Force is not trying to militarize space. It actually was created in a response to what's already happening, to the militarization of space by other countries. Now, one thing also to note is that Air Force ROTC is the only ROTC program that commissions into the United States Space Force at this time. So if you're looking to join the Space Force and you're looking at getting your college degree, Air Force ROTC is the only way you're going to be able to do that. So if you're looking to join the Space Force and you're looking to get your college degree at the same time at a school of your choice that isn't the Air Force Academy, you have to do that through Air Force ROTC.
Now that we've taken a look at what Air Force and Space Force are as a whole, let's dive deeper into what ROTC is and what it would look like for you. Developing strong leaders is what drives the curriculum in ROTC. Leaders that understand and practice integrity, service, and excellence in every domain in their life is essential to ensure that the freedom of America is protected.
So what is Air Force ROTC? So Air Force ROTC is a 3 to 4 year program, traditionally 4 years, that you receive military training during your college career. So it's available all over the country at over 1,100 universities and colleges. Now, when we say that, there's not necessarily 1,100 detachments, but there's at least almost every school, every major university across the country has what we call a crosstown agreement, where the students at that school can commute to a school with an ROTC program to participate in training. For instance, I'm a student at Pepperdine University, which is in Malibu, California. And then once a week, I commute to Loyola Marymount University, where Detachment 040 is, to do my training. Now, Air Force ROTC is all about leadership and character development. That's really emphasized in both like the classes and the training. But one thing to note, we're in Air Force ROTC versus other commissioning programs, such as the Academy or OTS, is that you're student first, leader always. What this means is that your studies and your academics at your university take priority. That's what's important. Your job is to get a good GPA, to try hard to attain that degree, while simultaneously also giving your best during training to become an Air Force officer.
Oh man, it's my turn. So now that we've talked a little bit about the Air Force and Space Force and the Air Force ROTC, let's talk about LMU. So why Loyola Marymount? Loyola Marymount is a mid-sized AFROTC detachment, which means we're not small enough to not have the amenities and training facilities to really accentuate your AFROTC experience, but we're not too large to where you're not going to get to know your fellow cadets, your instructors. So it's really a perfect middle ground to where you're going to get the best of both worlds. LMU has a beautiful and safe campus. I'm a little bit biased because I am a student here. But if you look at the pictures below, you can see just a few of my favorite snapshots of the academy or the university. The faculty at LMU is extremely friendly and supportive of our program. They love what we're doing for the community and what we're going to be doing for our nation in the future. And as a cadet at Det 040, you do become what's called a non-degree holding student or non-degree pursuing student, which means you will get a student ID card and you will have access to all of the top-notch athletic facilities such as the pool, the gym, and even the library. After asking a few of our cadets in our great detachment what is really important to them and what they have seen as an outstanding factor of Detachment 040, they answered with the people and culture, social engagements, service opportunities, and wingmanship. So the great thing about our detachment is that we have really cultivated an environment of service because in the Air Force, one of our core values is service before self. And I feel like we really personify that. We take the time throughout the semester to really have a lot of service opportunities, from volunteering at cleaning up the beach or VA hospitals, playing bingo with the veterans, or even working at the LA Food Bank. So there is never a short or a lack of helping the community and serving in our detachment. And just to kind of close this out, the wingmanship in our detachment, as I said before, as a medium-sized AFROTC detachment, we all know each other very, very well, even our instructors. So we're not just cadets, we're not just peers, we're friends, and we look out for each other, and we really care about each other, because if one of us fails, we all fail. So we are all doing our very best to strive to succeed together. And we really hope that you can become part of our family. Thank you.
All right, just some basic requirements for joining AFROTC is you have to be a college student. So you have to be a full-time college student. You can't drop below half-time or, you have to maintain your full-time college status. Restart that. Okay, so just some basic requirements to be part of AFROTC is any college student can be part of it. You just have to be a full-time student. You have to be enrolled in aerospace studies class and leadership laboratory at the host university here at Loyola Marymount. And you also just have to have a good attitude and just try your best. Now, to contract, which means to come back from field training as a POC or professional officer course student, or to receive a scholarship, you have to pass the fitness assessment or FA. You also have to pass the Air Force Officer Qualifying Test at AFOQT, which is like a standardized officer test. It's a lot like the SAT or ACT. You also have to pass the Department of Defense Medical Examination Review Board, DODMERB, medical exam. So this is just like a comprehensive medical exam, looking at your medical history and current medical state and making sure that you're qualified to be in the Air Force medically. And then you also have to maintain a 2.0 GPA in college as well, or if you're on the scholarship, you earn a scholarship, then you have to maintain a 2.5 GPA just during your time. If it drops below one semester, you go on like conditional and you have to get it up the next semester. But yeah, mainly you just got to keep above that 2.0 or 2.5 on scholarship. So just talking really quickly about the weekly commitment. So this is kind of going into what your life as a cadet would look like. So 7 days a week, you are a college student. I'm a Pepperdine student over at Pepperdine University. Go to class Monday through Friday, have a job on the side, go surfing with my friends on the weekends. But on Tuesdays, I do my morning classes and then I head to Loyola Marymount, which is like a 20-minute drive for me. While I'm there, we do leadership laboratory for 2 hours, which is our training. So that's like learning how to march, how to be in uniform, how to run leadership exercises, small unit tactics. It varies every single week. And they teach you different objectives. And I personally love it. I think it's super fun. You learn to work as a team. Then you also have your aerospace studies class. Now this is in a classroom environment. Your first 2 years or your underclassmen years, it'll be a 1 hour class, and then as an upperclassman, it'll be a 3 hour class, just a little more comprehensive with like guest speakers and stuff like that. And then after both of those, we do like physical training, which is generally 1 to 1.5 hours that day, but you are required to also work out a total of 3 times throughout the week, just 3 different times. So, and that counts for one of them, that group workout on Tuesdays. We also have a second group workout on Thursdays, but this is only required for people within a certain radius from the detachment. If you're outside of it, say you go to Channel Islands University or Cal State Northridge, you would not have to come to the detachment for that second group training. There's also extra opportunities because the Air Force ROTC is pretty much what you put into it. So if you want to make more out of it, you definitely can. So within our detachment, we have Honor Guard, which does events like sports games. They'll do flag ceremonies, rifles, spinning, all sorts of stuff like that, as well as like drill competitions. We also have like a Bible study some semesters, or a book club where we all read a certain book and talk about it, as well as the service opportunities we mentioned, like volunteer things and all that kind of stuff. So it's really what you put into it. And if you want to make it and kind of go that next step of bonding with your wingmen and giving it your all, there's all these cool opportunities within Air Force ROTC that you can do. Now, one thing to note is if you're listening to this presentation about the time we're recording it here in summer 2020, we are currently in the COVID-19 pandemic worldwide. And so one thing to note is that this is a traditional scope of what a training week would look like. But for fall 2020, we're currently in the process of modifying it to kind of adhere to the currently changing COVID-19 safety guidelines from both LA County as well as Loyola Marymount's own safety guidelines. So that potentially may look like some online classes versus some in person, social distancing, and different things like that. But know that the training staff is working to adapt our training plan to those safety guidelines.
So now that we've talked a little bit about your weekly commitments, let's talk about what's going to happen after you join Air Force ROTC and register for your AS classes. So we're going to start with the more traditional path first, but don't worry. If you're not a traditional student, or maybe you're a little further along in your college career, we do have plans for you. So let's say you're a freshman and you register today. You'll start as a AS 100 GMC. Now GMC stands for General Military Course Student. So AS 100, it's 1 credit and a lead lab. So leadership laboratory is just like any other lab. It kind of takes what you learn in the classroom and applies it to a real world scenario. So during lead lab, you're going to do the marching, pardon me. You're going to do the marching, you're going to do different kinds of exercises to kind of test you and help you learn more about leadership and critical thinking and other skills that are very important to an officer in the military. So a little more into that. So after your AS 100 year, 2 semesters of that, you're going to be a sophomore and you're going to be an AS 200. This is also a 1 credit and a lead lab. So your general military course consists of classes and topics such as the foundations of the United States Air Force and Space Force and aerospace studies. Field training preparation. Field training is kind of the cultivating event of your entire ROTC career other than commissioning. And leadership fundamentals. So to be an officer is to be a leader. So you will learn how to lead and you will learn how to lead well. So after your AS 200 year, your FTP or field training preparation year, you will go to field training, which is what Cadet Anderson just talked about in Maxwell Air Force Base. Think of it as a fun summer camp. So let's say you get back from field training, you're now what's called a POC, congratulations. So a POC stands for Professional Officer Course. So your classes now as an AS 300 will be 3 credits and a lead lab. I will say this is a great pad for your GPA, and 3 credits really helps towards your degree. So the professional officer course, your AS 300 and AS 400 years, consist of courses such as leadership and national security studies, active duty preparation, and cadet wing leadership experience. I myself am in what's called wing staff, so I am in the 3rd bullet of that at the moment. So your junior and senior year, you will be an AS 300 and then an AS 400, and then you get to the Red Star, you graduate and commission. Huge experience and congratulations to you. So let's take a step back. I myself was what was called a 250. So I started in the 2nd semester of the AS 200 year. Now, it's not impossible, but there will be a bit of a learning curve, but it is specifically for people who did not have the opportunity to join as a freshman. So that will be the 2.5-year, 3-year program. So you will come in the spring semester of your sophomore year. You will train. You will learn everything you need to know about Air Force ROTC and the Air Force and Space Force. And you'll go to field training after 1 semester. And then come back from field training and start again as an AS 300, then 400, same as everyone else. Now, let's say you have a 5-year plan. Maybe you're an engineer or something really smart like that. Those are called the AS, we call these cadets 800s. So they will go through the traditional 100, 200, 300, and 400, or the 250 program, as I like to call it. But they will not have to be in the AS class. They will just continue to be a part of lead lab after their 4th year or senior year as a traditional student will. So we do have plans, again, for 3-year and 5-year students. And even if you think you might not fall under any of these categories, never be afraid to call us or shoot us a message on any of our social medias, or even come to the detachment. That's what I did, and I love the program. So if you even have a query about what you want to know or what you think Air Force ROTC might be like, please come and join and ask. And we look forward to seeing you and hope you join. Thank you.
All right, now let's take a look at field training specifically. As the GMC learn the fundamentals of military like drill, warrior knowledge, MPT, as well as practicing discipline under pressure, their GMC career will ultimately lead up to field training. Field training is a 2-week stay at Maxwell Air Force Base, Alabama, where they will have the opportunity to apply all they have learned so far in an evaluative environment, where they will be assessed based on their creativity, their discipline, and their ability to lead and problem solve. Graduating field training is the first step entering into the professional officer course.
So there's a lot of perks that come along with being AFROTC cadet. So a lot of these are kind of what we call extra opportunities. I kind of went into a little bit with like the honor guard earlier, but we also have summer opportunities and other like, different things during the semester as well. So there's summer PPL opportunities, so different opportunities for flight and getting your private pilot's license. So that could be in the form of scholarships or going to an Air Force flight school. You can apply for these different programs. There's also like the National Character and Leadership Symposium. This is where vets from all over the country go to the Air Force Academy, and a bunch of speakers and impressive people who all kind of break down what it is to be a leader in the Air Force. We also have base visits. So these can be anything from like one-day trips to multi-day trips and bases out of state. If you look at that top left photo, that's actually when we went to Luke Air Force Base, which is in Arizona, and we got to fly in flight simulators, like actual combat flight simulators, and I got to sit in F-16. There's a lot of cool stuff like that. We also did another base visit to March Air Base in Riverside, where we got to go on a ride along in a C-17. They flew us up to San Francisco and back. It was super fun. Now, we also have what we call PDTs, or professional development trainings. Now, these are required. You have to do one during your GMC career and then one during your POC career. And they vary they vary greatly what they could be. So we have Operations Air Force, which is where you go to an Air Force base with a bunch of other cadets from around the country, and you stay there for 2 weeks, and you shadow all the different jobs around there, and you figure out kind of what life is on an Air Force base, what it's like. I did it up at Fairchild. It was super, super fun. We went rock climbing, got to go on a ride along in a KC-135, talked to a ton of different officers and different jobs, and just got to know those cadets who we went with really well as well. We also have Air Force Research Lab Scholars, where you go to the Air Force Research Laboratory. There's Field Engineering / Readiness Lab Program, where you go to the Air Force Academy and build structures and learn how to be a civil engineer. Special Tactics Orientation course, if you're interested in Special Forces. This is kind of interesting, the Cadet Training Assistant Program. So they have this both for ROTC and for the Air Force Academy. That's where you go to field training. After you go to field training, your next year, you can go back as a trainer. So I'm going to go back a slide, and you look at the bottom right photo. All of those cadets in yellow hats are what we call CTAs, and they're the trainers of the cadets going through field training. So you can go back and you act as a trainer, where you lead and evaluate and teach all of the cadets going through field training for the first time. Again, the Research Laboratory Scholars, the Air Force Academy Exchange, where you can go to the Air Force Academy for a semester and be a cadet there for a semester, is kind of cool. The SOAR or Free Fall program. Free Fall program is a skydiving program that I got to do. If you look at that bottom right photo, that's actually a photo of my friends jumping out of the skydiving plane. You get to do 5 unassisted free fall jumps with no tandem experience, no jump experience with anyone else. They teach you do 3 days of ground training, and then they push you out to plane by yourself. And it's probably the coolest experience I've ever done. So that's one of the programs you can apply for if you're an ROTC cadet. They have Project Global Officer, where you can do like a semester abroad somewhere if you're studying the language. So you see in the top corner, someone's in Egypt on a horse. That's pretty cool. Travel all over the world. As well as they have an Air Force Global Strike internship, where you can go study kind of the nuclear capabilities of the United States Air Force. All right, now we're going to talk about scholarship programs. Everyone wants to know, Air Force ROTC, how can it pay for my college experience? So there's 2 different ways that we can do that. One is the high school scholarship program, which I did, and then there's the in-college scholarship program, which I know other cadets have done. And so kind of to break it down, the high school scholarship program, we'll just go into it here. The application's open now. This is for high school seniors, so people who have finished their junior year of high school and are entering their senior year of high school. The application's open from the 1st of June to the 17th of January, so it's open right now. Please apply. These are the minimum academic requirements to apply for it. So 1240 SAT or 26 ACT, as well as a 3.0 cumulative GPA. You also have to just complete, you don't have to pass necessarily, but you just have to take a fitness assessment, which is 1 minute of push-ups, 1 minute of sit-ups, and then a 1.5-mile run. And then you have to do an interview. Now, anyone can join ROTC if they're a college student. But if you meet these requirements because you did well in high school, I would recommend you apply for this program. It is a very good chance that you could get a scholarship on the front end. And one thing to note is that even if you receive a scholarship, there's no commitment. You don't have to accept it. You can just apply for it to see if you get it and consider that option. So I recommend that anyone taking this and who meets these requirements does go apply for it. Now, one thing to note is that if you are awarded a scholarship, there is what we call like the freshman out program. So basically you can do your first year with ROTC and accept the scholarship money. And if you don't like it and you don't want to come back in your sophomore year, you do not have to pay back that first year. You just get that first year of tuition paid for or whatever. So one thing to note is there's additional opportunities to earn scholarships through what we call the in-college scholarship program. So say you didn't have the best high school grades or something happened and you didn't meet all these requirements to apply for the high school scholarship program, then you can come join ROTC just like any other cadet and compete for in-college scholarships. So that means show up, participate, try your best, and there's a good chance that if you stand out that you can get an in-college scholarship. They're awarded every semester to cadets, and LMU actually has a program for their own students where they award additional scholarships to LMU students. Some schools like Cal Baptist or LMU also have agreements where they provide free room and board if you're on scholarship. So there's three main types of scholarships. These are the same types whether you earn it as an in-college scholarship recipient or as a high school applicant. Now there's the type 1, which I'm on, is a full tuition and most academic fees at any public or private university. Now, this doesn't include room and board unless they have that special agreement with that school. They also have the type 2, which is $18,000 a year towards tuition at any public or private. And then the type 7, which is a full in-state tuition at any public university. One thing to note is that if you're awarded a type 7, but you want to go to a private university, you can convert it to a type 2 and that $18,000 amount. Now, on any of these scholarships, you also receive the scholarship benefits, which means $450 or $900 a year for your book stipend, which breaks down to $450 a semester if you're on a semester, or less if you're on like a trimester thing, as well as a monthly stipend. So your freshman year, if you're on scholarship, you receive $300 a month, and then it progressively increases up to your senior year, where you receive $500 a month. Now, one thing to note about the stipend is that even if you don't earn a scholarship or you don't apply for a scholarship, and you just want to participate in the program without the scholarship, when you come back from field training, you are going to contract and start earning that stipend as well as that book stipend. So everyone in their upperclassmen years in ROTC receives that monthly stipend to just offset living costs, and that's just money you can pocket. One note I want to make about the type 1 scholarship and type 2 is your major, any major, you can be any major you want and join Air Force ROTC. But when it comes to the higher, more better scholarships, like the type 1, they tend to favor more technical majors. So study what you want to study, but just know that if you are a technical major, then you're a slightly higher chances of getting a type 1 scholarship versus a type 2 or type 7. The other thing to note is that their type 1s are awarded first. They award all the type 1s, then they award all the type 2s and all the type 7s. So if you're trying to apply for the high school scholarship program, I recommend applying as soon as possible because that increases your chances of getting a type 1. I'm a type 1 non-technical. I'm a business major, and I still got a type 1 scholarship. So it's possible for anyone. They're paying for Pepperdine. It's really, really expensive school, and it's the only way I'm going there. So if you want to go to a dream school, you want to major in whatever, communications, business, art, you can still apply and still might get one of those special type 1 or type 2 scholarships.
Okay, Air and Space Force are the most technical branch by nature. By majoring in a technical field, you can better your chances of being selected for opportunities such as receiving scholarships, professional development training programs, and even help determine your future career in the military. Some of these technical majors include aerospace engineering, who can work on airplanes alongside aeronautical engineers. There are civil engineers and architects that can work on the bases and structuring the base plans, such as that. Chemistry, and I know quite a few Air Force chemists that are working on certain medicines. There are physics and nuclear engineering, which can get into plenty of fun things, as well as mechanical engineering. That can also be working alongside enlisted personnel and maintaining vehicles and other crafts.
The Air Force and Space Force aren't just looking for hardcore STEM sciences. They're also looking for a little something else. The Air Force and Space Force are always looking for a strategic and tactical edge for the nation's defense. Majoring in any of the languages below will make you a very competitive candidate for many different types of career fields, such as different intelligences, the Office of Special Investigation, which myself am actually trying to get into. Any kind of national defense, majoring in one of these languages will be a boon to you because the Air Force looks for, as we said earlier, STEM majors, technical majors, but the foreign language majors are a very looked over advantage when attempting or when joining the United States Air Force or Space Force. By majoring in one of these languages, you can help the Air Force and Space Force maintain the tactical and strategic edge we have over the nation's enemies. Now, we've talked a little bit about technical majors, and we've talked a lot about foreign language majors, but it's really important that everyone knows that you can have any major and still join Air Force ROTC and still be just as competitive, get a scholarship, be a fighter jet pilot, be an Office of Special Investigation, special agent. I myself am a communication studies major, and as I said prior, I'm trying my hardest to be a special agent in the Office of Special Investigation. There is no wrong major to have. You can be a musician, you can have an art history major, you can be a business major. All we're saying is that if you are one of these STEM or foreign language majors, you may have a bit of an advantage over the competition, which is really what a lot of joining the military is, especially as an officer.
If you'd like to contact us with more information, if you'd like to apply, you just want to know anything else about the Air Force or Air Force ROTC here at Detachment 040, the best detachment in the West, feel free to reach out to us. This is me, Cadet Josiah Anderson. I'm a recruiting and public affairs officer. So if you want to talk to me, shoot me an email. I'll hook you up. We can talk or text or whatever and give you more information regarding the program, my experience, anything you want to know, just let me know. If you feel more comfortable talking to an actual Air Force officer, this is one of our cadre and our recruiting and education officer. So he's an active duty Air Force captain in the Air Force. His name's Captain Travis Scherner, and there's his email there. So feel free to shoot him an email if you'd like to talk to him. You can also connect to us online. We're on all the socials. So here's our website where you can go and look at photos or find out some more information there. Here's our Instagram where I'm currently always updating you with different photos or cadets or opportunities we do and just kind of highlighting some of the fun stuff we do here at Detachment 040. Again, you can shoot us an email at this email, which will be answered by a cadre member, or reach out to our Facebook, which is just, more photos, more informational videos, more recruiting stuff. So you can just find out more about us here at Detachment 040. Now, lastly, this is Second Lieutenant Evelyn Soon. She's the Air Force ROTC Gold Bar Admissions recruiting officer from the LA area. So you can also reach out to her. She's just another resource with more information if you can't get all the information you need from us here at 040. But just feel free to send us any questions. Shoot our Instagram a DM, email those emails you saw earlier, and just reach out to us. There's no wrong questions, and we're really excited to hear from you soon. All right.
This is Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Jameson Bubbles again. As the MSG, the Mission Support Group Commander, I'm actually in charge of the recruiting team here at Detachment 040, along with Cadet Josiah Anderson and Cadet Christian Arteaga. We truly hope that you found this presentation informative and maybe is the last little bit of motivation to help you get into our detachment and join the world's greatest Air Force and Space Force. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you all have a great Air Force Day.